Okay guys, we're going to start logic and reasoning with something called a conditional statement. A conditional statement is basically an if-then statement. And you're saying it's sort of like cause and effect. If something will happen, then something else will happen. And we're going to try to use more technical words than just cause and effect. So whenever you read a statement like if I study, then I will pass my test. Now, I'm using two different colors to highlight because the thing that you start your statement with is your hypothesis, right? So like this is what I will do. In math class, you might call this one the P, and this one is the Q. So if your teacher ever writes if P then Q, if P then Q, what they're saying is that the P is the hypothesis. Let's see if I can spell, and then the Q is the conclusion. So if I study, then I will pass my test. Sometimes these are true statements, sometimes they're false statements. What you're going to be asked is to think of the reasonableness of this, and then you're going to be asked to sort of I don't want to say contort the sentence, but you want to be able to play around with this sentence and say it in a different way, and several different ways, and see if it's a valid statement. So for instance, you're going to start with something possibly called the converse. Now, the converse is whenever you take the if P then Q and you flip it around. So if Q then P. So your conclusion is at the front of the sentence and your hypothesis is at the back. So with our example that's above, what that could look like instead is you might see if I passed my test, then I studied. It may say then I studied, then I must have studied, then I did study. There's all different ways to phrase it. Just use good grammar to make it flow. So if I passed my test, then I must have studied. That's what I'm going to choose. Then I must have studied. So like I said, you're just flipping the two and then you're deciding how valid that statement is, okay? So that's the converse. Now, another one that you're going to be asked to do is called the inverse. Now, with the inverse, you go back to the original order of the sentence, but you negate it. Now, negating it means you're adding this idea of it didn't happen. So, if not P, then not Q. So, back to the original statement, let's make it a negative statement. So how about if I didn't study, then I will not pass my test. If I didn't study, then I didn't pass my test. And I think that's a pretty true statement, but some people can defy those rules, I guess. Our last one that we're going to talk about is called the contrapositive. Contrapositive. Okay, a contrapositive is going to be a combination of these two above. So we're going to flip the statement, but we are also going to negate it. Okay, so if not Q, then not P. So I've got to take the original statement, flip it around, and make it negative. So the green needs to go to the front and be negative. So how about if I didn't pass my test, then I didn't study? If I didn't pass my test, then I didn't study. Blah, blah, blah. Then I didn't study. So that is logic, the beginning of logic, and from here you're going to work with your teacher on if it's a false statement, you're going to be listing what's called a counterexample. So be on the lookout for these words. Counterexample, you might want to ask them what they are if you're not sure. You might want to ask for a biconditional statement and see what that is. And also the use of the terms if and only if. Whoops, if and only if. So these are all special circumstances that come up in this unit that you might want to ask about. And from here you'll probably move on to some kind of reasoning, induction versus, deductive versus inductive reasoning, and then on to proofs. So good luck with that.